Jesus Christ was the most nonchalant person to ever exist. And I know, as I'm saying that, you're probably surprised, like, nah, he was very reactive. The shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept, so it shows that he actually had emotions to him. But I'm talking about a point of view where you are reactive to what is going on around you. See, the best performance attitude you could ever have, whether it be in your business, whether it be in your sports, if you're an athlete, is a state of nonchalance. Now, going back to Jesus, he was the most nonchalant because in the Bible, there's this story. They were on a boat, him and his disciples, right? And the sea was going crazy. How I imagine it is like borderline tsunamis, thinking at any moment this boat is gonna capsize. These guys were panicking. They thought their life was over, or they thought that their life would be over in a matter of seconds. And what was Jesus doing? He was asleep, taking a nap, having the time of his life in La La Land. They woke him up and they said, "Are you not scared?" And he told them, "Dude, these are just ways. Are you..." Or actually, he said, "Ye of little faith," right? And he commanded the ocean or sea to quiet down, and it quieted down immediately. See, Jesus said that it is the children that inherit the kingdom of God. And what are children like? Children are probably the most nonchalant people you will meet because they don't actually care. See, they'll say something if they don't mean it, or when they mean it, they don't care about your reaction, right? Children will be the happiest they've ever been amidst a financial crisis, right? You can take a child that's used to being rich, used to having everything that they want, and in a matter of weeks, take everything away from that child, they're still going to be happy. See, children are not serious at all, and I want to get it in your head that Jesus Christ wasn't serious. Now, the reason why I'm using Jesus is above him being one of the best spiritual teachers, right? And on that point of spiritual teachers, you'll notice in any religion, the spiritual teachers aren't serious, right? They aren't approaching life with this serious, stern attitude like things have to be done. I was reading the autobiography of a yogi, and all the spiritual teachers that were listed in there, they had this air of nonchalance, this air of like they just weren't serious about anything, didn't take anything seriously. And I think that isn't a side effect of a sense of spiritual development. See, the further you go into knowing yourself, the further you immerse yourself in quietness, the further you recognize that this world that we see is just an illusion. That it's a small piece of the full puzzle, right? The physical plane is a small piece. The moment you recognize that is the moment you become more nonchalant in your life. And I realized that I've become increasingly nonchalant because people have told me that I'm nonchalant, which I didn't think it was true, because I'm not the most expressive person, but I do express myself, right? But I realized that their idea of my nonchalance was coming from my lack of reactivity to things in my life turning into haywire. Right, I've grown up in an environment, or let me not say environment because it sounds like there was chaos around, but a lot of times where there was uncertainty, a lot of times where I didn't know if what I wanted was going to turn out, a lot of times where things were a bit rocky. And a side effect of that is I've become very comfortable with dealing with uncertainty, so much so that when it seems like my world is falling apart, I'm a lot of the times unfazed. Does that mean that the emotions aren't raging within? No, I'm just unfazed, like, it is what it is. Perhaps this is the best way. Like, I'm not so tied on reality. But anyways, going back to Jesus. Jesus, he wasn't serious at all, right? But the funny thing is, Jesus, if you look at him just as a human being, in terms of success, in terms of being able to bend the world to his will, of which Son of God, he was literally bending the world to his will. It was his will, right? So if you can hear that, my dog is right there. Actually, both of my dogs are right there. A sneak peek into Teja's life. Anyways, there's a horse pipe there, but when you look at Jesus, right, on a success metric, he was the most successful man to exist. In 3 years, he only was spiritually active for 3 years, proclaiming his mission, trying to get disciples, trying to spread his word. For 3 years, in 3 years, he became the most famous man of his time, and not even the most famous man of his time, he became the most famous man in history. See, there's no person who has influenced us just like Jesus, but Jesus was nonchalant. He didn't care, right? If you read the Bible, you truly read the Gospels and you look at the things Jesus was saying, this is a guy you can tell he did not take things seriously. Met a woman at the well And she was talking about, oh, husband, whatever. I can't remember the exact verse. He's like, yeah, you don't have one husband, you have five. Do you know, that's a very unserious thing to say to someone you've never met. Like, at that point, you really don't care. What I'm trying to hammer into your head is that Jesus didn't care. And is this ability to not care, this state of not caring how things go, actually gives you the power to control them. See, what you need to recognize that when it comes to athletes, right? Athletes perform the best when they're nonchalant. Of course, we all talk about passion. Passion isn't caring about the details. Passion has its place. Or not passion. This attention to detail, this attention to wanting to do things perfectly, it has its place. And that's when you're practicing. But now when it's time to play, the best athletes are actually nonchalant. See, Roger Federer, he won over 80% of the matches in his career. But he only won 54% of the points. And his philosophy was, it's just a point. Right? Roger Federer, he was no stranger to losing a point. He was no stranger to messing up. But what separated him from the rest was the fact that he could just say it's just a point and move on. In a lot of ways, he developed this ability to become nonchalant about a point. But the thing is, he wasn't always like that. I've been reading a lot of Roger Federer books lately. I've been watching any podcasts I can find on him. And when he was young, he was very erratic. He was very reactive to everything going on around him. He would lose a point, you start screaming. He felt like he was hard done, smashing rackets, shouting, doing all of that. And then as he went on with his career, he developed this seemingly nonchalance to the point where he had this reputation for making things look so easy. He would never lose his calm. He wouldn't even break a sweat. But that was something that he practiced, something that he got as he developed his career. And I want to hone it into you today that nonchalance is the best performance attitude. And of course, I'm not going to preach to you, tell you all of this without telling you how to become more nonchalant. Because without doing it, I've been doing it every single day. Or rather, without trying to do it, I've been becoming more and more nonchalant every single day. But nonchalant in the way in which I'm not really faced. Things can be turning into shit and I'm just looking at it like, hey, can improve. But anyways, back to Jesus. Jesus was... If you look at the metrics, it's the most successful man to ever live. He completed his mission so much so that we are all talking about it today. He is still the center of the world today, whether you like to believe it or not. Right? He was able to inspire so many people around him to follow him, to devote their lives to him. He was able to captivate millions. Back then. Millions back then is billions now. Right? He was able to turn water into wine. He was able to calm oceans. He was able to heal people with leprosy. He was able to heal people with blindness. He was a master of this physical plane. The reason he was a master of the physical plane is because he was first a master of his mind. See, the thing that the Bible talks about most isn't Jesus Christ himself, but it's the mind of Christ. Because that is where everything resided, is the mind of Christ. And Paul said that the same mind that was in Christ can be in us. See, you can have the same mind. But enough about that. I actually have notes on this. Real niggas write notes, you know? Real niggas write notes. Now, nonchalance, as I said earlier on, is a side effect of deep spiritual enlightenment. And a lot of the times people talk about spiritual enlightenment and it sounds like this hefty thing. What spiritual enlightenment is being close to your source. I want you to think about it as, oh, I have the most in-depth analysis of the Bible. You can ask me any question and I know the answer. Spiritual enlightenment is simply being one with your source, and the source is God. Now, the mistake that a lot of people have made is they have ascribed God to this thing that is outside of them. Right? For me to get closer to God, I have to go to my pastor. I have to get wisdom from there. But Jesus and Luke said the spirit of heaven, or not the spirit, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It also says in Job, that nothing can be given to a man except from heaven. But the kingdom of heaven is within you. Right? The kingdom of heaven isn't in the sky, because then it means the birds would be closer. The kingdom of heaven isn't in the ground, because then it means the fish would be closer than you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's within all of us. It also says in Corinthians that we are the dwelling place of God. The Spirit of God dwells within us. We are also made in the image of God. So essentially what the spiritual enlightenment is, it's not being the most astute religious person. It is actually being close to your center, being close to the version of you that is made in the image of God, being one with it, right? When you are one with it is when you are still. That's why in Psalms it says, be still and know that I'm God. There is no way that you'll be able to reach the state of nonchalance if you never allow yourself to be still. Because essentially that's what nonchalance is. It's like being still. The world is turning into shit. It's absolutely chaos. There's a fire there. There's a tsunami coming and then you're just chilling there like this. And that's the approach I want you to take with it when it comes to your mind. Nonchalance isn't... I don't want you to think about nonchalance in the frame of, oh, I don't show my emotions, I don't do that, but that you are unfazed. That is the true nonchalance that Jesus had. That is the true nonchalance that we are called to have. That is the true nonchalance that will turn your potential into performance, which is essentially what I do with all my clients. They come to me with potential and I turn it into performance, and it looks different for all my clients. So I don't promise, oh, I'm going to 2x your business. I might do much more than that. But enough about that. See, now going into nonchalance, what is nonchalance? Nonchalance is essentially just a state of relaxation, right? See, Jesus, he was relaxed in the boat. Jesus, when people came to him asking, oh, can you heal me? He's like, if you can. If you were serious about life and someone asked you, can you do it? You'd be like, of course I can. But Jesus was like, if I can, right? Jesus, he turned water into wine. And I know it's like, no, of course you can do it seriously, but you know how playful you have to be to turn water into wine. And Jesus said that it's the children who inherit the kingdom of God. Children are just the most amazing people ever. I'm not ready to have a child myself. I don't think anyone's ever ready to have a child. I think the child pops out and you're like, okay, I'm ready now. But anyways, nonchalance is a state of relaxation. Children exhibit this state of relaxation the most. And have you noticed children are normally the most creative? They normally get the most done. See, they may not be dealing with the craziest, most complex ideas, but when a child has a goal, they often achieve it. Why? Because they're operating from this state of nonchalance. They don't care if what they wanted turns out in another way. They don't care if reality suddenly falls apart, and now their plan is up in the air. They just adopt how things are. And you know what, I'll tell you something. The greatest conqueror of all time, okay, my personal favorite conqueror of all time, Napoleon, was nonchalant. Why? He said that he never had a plan. He just had an idea he wanted to fulfill, and the means to which it was fulfilled, he didn't really care, whatever presented himself at that time. He wasn't caught up, he wasn't attached to the way things were meant to be. See, when you are constantly reacting to how things turn out in your world, it means you're too attached to how you want them to be. The best people aren't attached to how things are, they're attached to an end result. Napoleon wanted to win the battle, he didn't care how, so he was nonchalant. He's like, oh, it doesn't work if we fight them on the bottom. Okay, let's try fight them up there. Whatever. He was just didn't care. Whatever needed to be done. Right? Anyways. So the children inherit the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said you will not inherit the kingdom of God unless you're childlike. Nonchalant. Think about yourself when you're a child. You do not care. You aren't serious at all. And don't worry, I'm going to link all of this back to sports. I'm going to link it all back to your career, whether it be trading, whether it be business, whatever it may be. Because these principles are universal. With my clients, they know more about what they do than I do. I just know a bit more about the mind. I share my beliefs. I think there's a wasp out here, but I'm going to exercise nonchalance. You know, I've actually never been bitten by a wasp, and I haven't been bitten by a bee in over 15 years, simply because I don't care. I don't care, like a bee will come. Oh, anyways, but what I'm saying here, what I'm trying to distill all of this down to is nonchalance is a state of relaxation, is a state of not caring. being good with or without that thing. So essentially, nonchalance, it's a state that you can get yourself into, a state that naturally comes the more that you invest in yourself spiritually. And the way you invest in yourself spiritually is just connect more with yourself. See, we've been lied to that the way to God is through some outside thing. The way to God is through yourself. The kingdom of heaven is within you, right? The Spirit of God is within you. So you don't need to go outside. But anyways, moving on to now the more applicable things. See, flow state is a nonchalant state. It's just another way for a nonchalant state. See, when you're in a flow state, imagine you're playing sports. When you're in a flow state, is it that everything goes perfect? No. But you're in that phase where you don't really care about anything else. And you don't really care about what you were doing at that point. Like if you mess up, you're like, oh, fair enough, I mess up. You're just like, and then you carry on going. A football player in flow state, they miss a shot, they're like, oh my goodness. 10 seconds later, they don't care about it. Like, they've moved on. Right? They're not so focused on how they achieve something. They're just focused on the end goal. It's like, oh, I want to score. I want to play the best I want to play. Right? A flow state in your business wouldn't be being so fidgety about how things are done, how it looks like, but being more concerned about the end result and ensuring that things are achieved. See, I was having a conversation with one of my friends today, and he is getting closer to God. He's going through a tough time. And what resonated with him about getting closer to God is that idea of just trusting in Him more. You need to realize that we will never be able to control everything, right? Because imagine you wanted to control everything in your business. You have to control what these people think of you. You have to control them coming to your content. You have to control them liking your content. You have to control them having the funds to buy your things. Then you have to control the things that you say in your meeting so that you appeal to whatever it is they want. You have to control all these things. You can't control all of them. Or you can just control your mind, quite honestly. We say that we can control our actions. Of course you can. But the only thing you can truly control is your mind. And if you exercise full control of your mind, you can control everything in this world. Right? And it's shown by Jesus. Jesus was able to control water. He was able to be like, calm down. And the water calmed down. Why? Because he could control his mind. He was a master of the mental plane. And of course, he was a master of the spiritual plane because he's one with God. He's one with the Father in heaven. The Father in heaven being the mental state. But it's a point for another video. So now, linking all of this back to whatever your craft may be, whether it's you're a sportsman, whether you're a businessman, whether you're a trader, the way in which you exercise nonchalance is not really caring about how things go day to day. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse that says you're entitled to the work, but you're not entitled to the fruits of that work. Now, if you take that same approach in your craft, you're entitled to your work. That's where the nonchalance comes from. Just doing things like, I'm just going to have fun. See, you can never beat someone who's trying to have fun. Likewise, you will never be a better version of yourself than when you are trying to have fun. Just have fun. Don't really care, oh, I lost a trade today. Oh, I won a trade today. Like, just be nonchalant like it happens. Because it's in not being nonchalant that we actually enforce the terrible situations in our life. It's in not being nonchalant that when a loss comes, you hyperfixate on it. You're always thinking like, wow, I really lost. And the emotions of that further program your mind with loss. Now, your mind is the heart of your reality. Your subconscious mind is simply, it's like the architect of your reality, the blueprint. So what is in your subconscious mind? You are now giving the forces of the world, the universal laws, you're instructing them, okay, build this. You're giving them a blueprint. That's your state of consciousness, right? And then now all the forces of nature, God, everything works to fulfill that blueprint. Your prayers are always being answered. Your daily life is a living prayer. But people have described prayer as this thing where you get on your knees and now you speak a bunch of words and God hears it. But prayer is mental. Prayer is in your emotional state. So you are praying every single day. When you express something, you think about it. You think about it with a deep emotion. You have faith in it. You've just prayed. You just prayed. That passing comment you made, oh, my life is so terrible. That's a prayer. It's a prayer. People think you're only praying when you decide, oh, okay, let me pray. It's like saying you're only breathing when you decide, oh, okay, let me breathe. No, you breathe every single day. See, prayer and manifestation are simply the same thing. You always manifest. Likewise, you're always praying. In the Bible, it says pray without ceasing. But it's just being conscious of what you were praying for. Because look at it, when Jesus says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. And he also says that if you believe that you have received what you have prayed for, then it's done. After you pray, act as if you have received it, right? Now, a lot of people don't do that with prayer, but they do it with their negative thoughts. They'll think of thoughts, they'll think about the worst possible case scenario and expect it to happen. They'll say, I know it's going to turn bad. You're praying. All the principles that you wanted, all the principles that Jesus has laid down for us to pray to him, we use them day to day, but a lot of the times we use them unconsciously for our demise. You lose a trade. I know I'm going to blow this account. Essentially, what you're asking for is to blow the account. Now you have faith that you're going to blow their account. Jesus said, if you can believe, anything is possible. Doesn't mean anything is possible in a good sense. It means anything is possible. A lot of times, people like to theorize what these people meant. No one has an idea what Jesus meant. So I think the best thing is to take things at face value. Anything is possible. So it means anything in a negative sense is possible if you believe. Anything in a positive sense is possible if you believe. So, can I be honest with you? Can I be honest? I've forgotten what the main point was. Oh yeah, it's just not caring how things go. You're entitled to the work, but not the fruit. So, that is the first step, right? Recognize that you are entitled to the work and not the fruit. Now, the second step is to get yourself to a point where you actually don't care. Now, of course, you could just stop caring. But that's not the approach I like. I'm a fan of greatness. In fact, the reason I do this, the reason I started doing all of this is because I'm just attracted to greatness. I love greatness. I support the best people ever. Why? Because I just like to get an insight of how people become great, how they maintain their greatness, right? And the way you become great is not by not caring whether you win, but you can get to a point where you don't care whether you win or not while still working for the win, if that makes sense. And the way you do that is to give yourself what you want the world to give you. See, you are the only time you don't really care about something is when you have what it would give you already. In the dating scene, the people who don't care the most are the people who love themselves. And funnily enough, the people who love themselves have the best success in the dating scene. The people who invest the best are the people who don't need a return on the investment. So they operate from this nonchalant point of view. If it goes bad, oh well. If it goes great, then great. But it's not going to change my life. And you need to get to that point of view. Now, like I said, I'm not going to tell you don't care about anything going on. But rather, I'm going to tell you that you need to give it to yourself before the world gives it to you. Now, the way you do that is through your subconscious mind. You need to realize that all your desires, all your emotions actually stem from your subconscious mind. Now, if you can convince your subconscious mind that you have exactly what it is that you want, then you are no longer going to be so attached to it. Right? Now, the way you do this is through visualization. Well, it's not through visualization. Visualization is a tool. But the way you do this is through emotional intensity attached to a thought. So what I mean by this is, the reason why visualization works is because you come up with this mental image, this scene, and it plays in your head. And typically what the scene does is it implies the unfoldment of your desired reality. So you've gotten what you want. And now you're feeling an emotion like, oh, I've gotten what I want. Yes, I've made 10K this month. Oof, yes. Now you need to recognize that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined experience. So when you're imagining this experience, your subconscious mind is reacting in the same way that it would do if you were actually going through that thing. Now the funny thing about this is now your subconscious mind genuinely believes that it has what it has. Now, your subconscious mind is the heart of your reality. Whatever is in your subconscious mind, if left unattended, will manifest itself in your life. So now that you've convinced your subconscious mind that, oh, I have this thing, you are going to have it, your subconscious mind starts to work. Contrary to popular belief, most of the things we do day to day are subconscious. You don't decide that you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Yes, you may think about it, but the thing that determines that behavior is actually your subconscious mind. So once your subconscious mind has decided, oh, we have this thing, you'll soon have it in reality. Now, through visualization, creating an emotionally charging scene where you are getting the thing you want, whatever it may be, like whatever makes you feel most emotional, you're getting the thing you want. And please make it simple, because a lot of the times I used to make my visualization so intense, and I'll start thinking, what color were this person's toes? Oh, were they painted? Stupid details. Just depleting my mental energy. The other way, which I've actually gotten into doing it recently, is through scripting. So it's like journaling. It's like a journaled visualization. That's what I call it. It's a journaled visualization or a written visualization. It achieves the exact same thing. Whatever method you use, you could just sit there and just think about whatever it is you want. That's a visualization. It just has to produce emotional intensity. And then soon enough, your subconscious mind will begin to believe. And now the point to which you will know that, oh, my subconscious mind believes I have this thing is now that visualization, that scripting, whatever it is you do, is going to start to produce less and less emotion. It's going to get to a point where you visualize just like, this again. And it's not this again from like, I'm tired of this process, it's not coming in my life, but it's just like, oh, we have this already. Like imagine me visualizing owning this watch. Like, oh, be no emotion produced. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's at that point you know your subconscious mind has been convinced that you have what it is that you want. And so at that point you can just tell yourself it's worked, because it is going to happen in your life. Do it for something small if you don't believe it's going to work for your career. Do it for something like a watch that you want. Do it for something small, I don't know. Something small. And you'll find that it's there. Now the last step to get to a point of nonchalance, I've hinted at it, but it's being closer to your source. Now the way you be closer to your source is through silence. It is through stillness. In Psalms it says, be still and know that I am God. You will never know God if you're not still. That's why people say you go into a quiet room, you pray. Why? Because you are still. Right? The only way, there's a part of you that's undefeatable, that's unmoved by circumstances, that recognizes that all things are possible, that recognizes that you have the capability to do anything that comes into your mind. There's a part of you within you. That part of you is the Spirit of God that's within you. It's the kingdom of heaven. The only way in which you can reach that kingdom of heaven, the Spirit of God, is to be relaxed. Right? Have you noticed the best things happen in your life? Have you noticed that all your prayers are answered when you're relaxed? Like when you get to a point where you're like, God, I don't even want it anymore. Just relax. You're just like, it is what it is. You're nonchalant about it. Like, oh, whatever. And then you get it and you're like, wow. It's not like you're faking the nonchalance, but you're like, wow, God answers prayers. And God answers every prayer. It's just that sometimes we don't know what we're praying. Sometimes we're praying conflicting things. We tell God, oh, I want to build an amazing business. But then throughout our day, we have conviction in things failing. And I've realized that in my life, for a long time, I was praying, visualizing success. But the things that I would actually have conviction in day to day, or the turmoil in my business, the lack of clients. And now that I've gotten to a point where I've convinced my subconscious mind that I have it all, things are coming to me in weird ways. But yeah, the practical way to do this is through meditation. Simply it. And it's not meditation where you are focusing on breath work, like breathe in, breathe out. It's simply you just sit there, become still. Don't try to direct your thoughts, just observe. And what you'll notice is after some time, your thoughts will go quiet. And then you get into the state where you're calm, you're at peace. Nothing really matters. Not really thinking anything. It's like the rate of your thoughts has dropped down. So you're like, thought. Whereas when you first start meditating, it'll be thought. And it's thought. Thought. It's how it will be. And you'll find that the more you do this, the more non-reactive you will get to life. You'll be achieving the best sense of nonchalance. Nonchalance. Did I say it right? You'll truly be unfazed. And when reality can't faze you to begin to give you everything that you want, when you don't care whether your prayer is answered, that's when it's answered. A lot of the times when you have given up on God answering it, that's when God moves. Likewise, bringing this back to performance. When you are not so fixated on the result, when you know it's going to happen, you actually operate with a sense of nonchalance. Have you ever gone into something just knowing you're going to win? You don't really take things seriously. You just go like, you're just playing and having fun, and somehow you win in the most devastating fashion. Like, you absolutely destroy your opponent. That's what happens when you're nonchalant. That's what happens when you have been convinced. But yeah, that's it for the video. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're an entrepreneur or you're an athlete and you want to turn your potential into performance, that is exactly what I do. I used to promise that I would get you an increase in your revenue, but I realized the work that I do is much more than that. It will change your life because the mind controls your life. So if you're interested in going through that transformation, click the link below, and yeah, it will take you to a page where you can just fill an application. But with all that being said, I'll catch. All hail journals. Like this journals are the best thing ever. Like, I'm never gonna stop writing about journals, talking. This is actually the video today. This is actually after hours. I think I'm actually gonna implement this. It's an after hours session on how I've been implementing the mindset techniques that I talk about in my life. So let's talk about conviction. So this comes from reading a book called 3 Magic Words, but a lot of the times people struggle with maintaining their frequency per se, maintaining that state of consciousness that they can get in the morning when nothing's happened, but then something happens, they're like, wow, that's terrible. How I've been doing it, just a practical thing. So I'll program my mind in the morning, I'll visualize my goals being unfolded, so I go into the day, I'm calm, whatever, and then now, let's say I'm faced with the reality like, oh, I'm actually not making this much. It's just affirming, like, once you know what's more important. So for me, I know that the mental and spiritual realm, or the causal realms, the physical plane, is simply just an effect of the mental and spiritual. So I know that the true definition of having what it is actually having it in my mind. Right? The true definition of value, even in this world, is mental. Because we all know of someone who on papers they're amazing, but they have absolutely no faith in themselves, and that lack of faith in themselves is reflected in the way that other people treat them. You have a friend who you know this would be an amazing boyfriend, but no one looks their way. Why? Because mentally they believe they're nothing, therefore they are nothing. The most important thing in your life is going to be the mental. So essentially what I would do is, like, day to day, just regularly affirming what it is that is good. Because the thing is, we're always affirming ourselves, whatever it may be. So in my situation, I'll just affirm myself, oh, making 10K. making 10K a month, making 10K, and genuinely feeling the emotions that I would feel if I had it. Because what you need to recognize is, like, you're not gonna have to every 10 seconds be like, oh no, 10K, 10K, 10K. But you just have to do it once, and then that high would take you for a few hours. Then you're like, oh, a problem will come. Take you a few hours, another problem comes. But just being able to re-establish yourself in what it is that you want. So reminding yourself that the kingdom of heaven is within, and nothing is given to a man except through heaven. So once you can get that internal state, once you can have that faith, have conviction in what it is that you desire, you're going to get it. And just reminding yourself of the fact that it's the mental state that creates the physical state. So your main focus should actually be maintaining your mental state, because once you maintain your mental state, everything that you want physically is going to fall in line. And I've seen it to one of my clients, Shaq. It's kind of weird watching how much his life has changed and him saying everything has changed, because I knew it was going to happen, but at the same time just seeing how me telling him certain principles has affected his emotional reactivity. It's affected his business. It's affected his weight. I actually met with him earlier today. He was at 94 kgs when we first started. Now he's at 85. He's looking absolutely amazing. Give him 2 months, even a month, he'll start mugging me. I'm like, wow. It's not hard to mug me, I can't lie. But yeah, his life has completely changed simply because of the things, simply because of mindset change. And just recognizing that, I guess this is going to be my version of after hours. I'm not going to talk to you about after hours stuff, but just more of an insight into how I'm implementing things in my life. And yeah, because I really want to take you along on the journey, because like I said, my mission here is to, the whole reason I started posting on social media was to show Africans that anything can be done. And my craft, it tackles that on a personal level, that anything you envision can be done. And everything will be done. Soon I'll be working with Kobe Main. I laugh, but I wholeheartedly believe it, and I know. But with all that being said, this actually ends the video.